fresheners are silenced. My mic is working. I've got this in. Got my little notebook. Luna's got her antler. I feel like...
We're ready.
I feel like I'm ready, I think.
Are we forgetting anything?
Yeah, I think I'm ready to go.
My headphones in.
I know. I think I've even got a mirror here, in case like I feel. You know, sometimes I'm like, is there a hair in my eye? That I can be like, I can fix it myself.
You're so prepared this time round.
Incredible. It's not my first rodeo. It's my second rodeo, and I've got a drink, so I'm ready.
Love that.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Aimee with the 2 E's. How was your week? Tell us all about it.
My week was... Well, let's just start off by addressing my nails, because these are actually... They won't be in camera because we've got our mics clipped on today, so I'm outing myself here. But so I came to an end on my biab journey, which I am happy about, but they are a bit gross now.
What made you take them off? Because I used to have biab. I've got acrylics at the moment because I chewed all of mine off in an anxious moment. But I do want to go back to biab. Why have you chosen to stop?
Genuinely, I mean, I probably will get cancelled for saying this, but I actually feel like biab's a little bit of a scam. Maybe not a scam, that might be going a bit far, but my nails feel as if I've had acrylics on. Like, they don't feel any more healthy. Because I used to have acrylics, and I would take them off and my nails would be like they burn when hot water goes on them. So I was like, oh, biab is like a much better way to do that. And actually now I've taken them off, it's not at all. Like, they feel exactly the same.
I remember the first time I got biab. Why does no one warn you about how much that burns
the heat
when
spike.
You put your... Oh my gosh. And if you have the... and I have... It would get so bad. I'd pull it out, I'd wait like a second, I'd put my nails back in, I'd be fine. I just need that break. And every time the nail technicians who are not wearing biab would be like, oh, like, put them back in. I'm thinking, you can't feel like what I can feel. I'm in pain.
No, it's bad. But yeah, so that's come to an end, which I think I'm going to become a press-on girly, you know. But we'll see. I'm just going to let them have a bit of a healthy moment for a while. So if anyone sees my nails and then thinks, ew, this isn't how I usually present myself.
If any brands would like
any press-on nails,
UGC.
like, I'd really appreciate it.
What about work this week? How's that been?
Work has been kind of quiet, actually, but I said to you yesterday, I feel like I've had a really productive week in terms of what I've put out. Like, I've put a lot into, like, I've planned content for, like, my socials, I've outreached, I've, like, messaged a bunch of, like, brands. Yeah, I feel like I've really done as much as I can. Like, I literally worked, like, 7 a.m. until, like, 10 p.m. one day, which is... It's not what they promise you when you become self-employed. I was looking for all this freedom.
That's not what the Instagram reels make it look like. Yeah. But remember, the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit.
True. I like that. That's very true. How's your week been?
I've had such a mixed bag of a week, Aimee, I can't even tell you. I mean, you'll know some of it. I've written a list of things to sum up my week in my little journal. First things first, the worst part of my week, I chipped my tooth. You might be looking at this podcast if you're watching us on YouTube and thinking, Aimee's switched sides. I wonder why that could be. Because I have a broken tooth. So for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, I don't know why, I think everyone would know, but I got composite bonding done about, Aimee, when was this? Less than a month ago, right?
Yeah, not long.
The issues I have had with it are outrageous. I have had about, how many breaks have I had? 1.
3.
I've had 3 breaks. 3 breaks, 2 on the same tooth, and it's always the same part of my tooth. And basically, my dentist reckons that I grind my teeth in my night, and in the night, and I've never noticed or realised.
Right.
And there's no man in my bed to tell me. So so I've woken up. I've literally woken up 2 mornings minus a tooth. Now listen, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, okay? I get that. But half of a tooth... It's not what the brand signed up for when they asked for aesthetic content. So my plans have somewhat had to change this week. So yeah, just you'll be seeing a lot of this side of me for a little while because they can't see me until Wednesday. So that's that. Anyway, I will say, very happy with my teeth other than that. But and also I didn't even really get much done. I just had gaps either side of my teeth where I'd had lots of teeth removed when I was a child. I had then had train tracks because I had overcrowded mouth. I then had train tracks to straighten my teeth. And then where I haven't worn my retainer, because who actually wears their retainer into their adult life? Not me. My teeth have naturally moved. There's 2 gaps. We filled them. Well, if only it were that simple. Anyway, so that's point 1 on my list. Point 2, I've been getting head spins because I've got low iron. That's fun. Number 3, weather with a sad face. That's a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then the one day the sun came out, I couldn't find it in me to get up and film. It was meant to be my day off, and I was like, I really regret it now because I could have got some beautiful content, albeit with half of a tooth, but I regret that. So anyway, let's do some positives. Okay, great. I bought some new trainers.
Love that.
Yeah, they're leopard print.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's fun. I found my gold earring that I lost. Would you like to know how I found it?
Yeah.
Because this is really outing myself. I came home one day after I was out for a while. Luna, if anyone has a dachshund, please tell me I'm not alone in this. Everyone I talk to, I feel like, says the same thing. They like to do their business where it is warmest and coziest. And that is inside the house. So she did a poo on the dining room floor. Thank you, Luna. Love you. But I have somewhat you know, we said I was Delulu last week. I've romanticised it, right? Because the poo was right next to my gold earring. So I feel like she let me
Thank you, Luna.
I feel like she was leading me there, because I went to Paris like in an absolute, like, I was beside myself because they were brand new. They're solid gold earrings. It was my parents like gifted them to me for Christmas. I was so grateful. I've never had solid gold earrings before. They were really special to me, and I lost them. And anyway, Luna helped me find them. And I did my first run back today since I've come back from Paris, and it was hard, but I did it.
Well done.
The end.
Sounds like a good week. Minus the tooth.
I mean, yeah. Literally minus a tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally minus
No
a
pun
tooth.
intended.
Yeah, so a mixed bag, but you know, we move. I told you, we want this to be like open book. So there you have it. You want to know how my week was?
Yeah. What about work-wise?
There you go. Oh, work. That.
While we're all here.
That's so funny. Work-wise, pretty standard week for me, like not really much to report. Some fun deals coming in that I've got to work on, or some couple of contracts signed, like just pretty standard. But the one thing I would say about work this week is I'm finding social media, I'm finding Instagram quite hard at the moment in this space. I've actually made a reel that I'm going to put up this week about it. I'm just finding it a little bit of a strange place to be right now, specifically on Instagram as a UGC creator. I'm finding it quite an odd place to be. So like work's been going well, but that aspect of work, like having to show up on social media and present whatever version of yourself you want to present and be consistent, I've just found that quite difficult this week. So yeah, definitely been a little bit quieter on there than I would like to be. But you know, I feel like you go through ebbs and flows of things, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's just the reality of being online, like all the time. It's so easy to get into that mindset.
I think the difficulty with being a UGC creator is the content you put out you're not an influencer, you're not putting out content about yourself, you're putting out content about putting out content. And I find that in itself is really challenging, because like, how much is there to say, and it's so niche, and like that's a challenge in itself. So coming up with kind of content ideas or whatever can be tricky, but then actually the space and the community and I don't know, there's just a really odd vibe on Instagram right now for me, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way. And this isn't meant to be like a negative or a bitchy thing. I'll, as I say, I'm literally going to put a reel out about it. So then this will hopefully make more sense. But it might even have gone up before this podcast comes out. I don't know yet. But yeah, just a weird place to be. So I'm hoping that I'm not the only person who feels like it, because it would be really nice to feel like I wasn't alone. But yeah, a bit of a rant, but not a rant, like a ramble. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. Yeah. Do you know what? I also feel that way about filming as well. Like, when it is like when I'm filming myself, I get sick of seeing myself.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I could never get sick of seeing you.
Like, you know, when you're like, I've been
face.
filming my face, I've been editing my face.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of like, I guess, the same kind of headset where it's like, headset mindset, where it's just like, I don't know, it just kind of puts you in a little bit of a complex with yourself.
Well, I kind of feel actually the opposite. I really struggled with like, oh, Luna's come to join us. Okay.
Welcome, Luna.
Okay, hi. She said, I want to address the allegations that have been raised in this podcast. Hello. I also realised, listening back to the last podcast, that for anyone who's not watching us, we obviously I was there, I was talking to Luna, but obviously that wasn't very obvious if you were just listening. So people must have thought I was talking to a ghost or something. I don't know what they thought. You just have an
imaginary friend that you just pop into conversation.
I was like, can we be quiet? And like, there's no, like, you're like, what if they think I'm telling you to be quiet? Can we be quiet? Can we settle down? Like, oh, honestly. Sorry, you asked me a question. I can't remember what it was. Oh no, I was going to say, I really struggled, like my whole teenage and up to kind of mid-20s, really struggled with body image and like self-confidence. And so I never pictured myself being able to do a job like this. But actually I found that my confidence and my like acceptance of my body and my face and my flaws has like, it's so much better now because of UGC, because I think you just see yourself from every angle and you just have to make peace with it. And I remember when I first started out watching me doing talking head videos and feeling like my mouth was really like wonky and off center. And it certainly is now because I'm missing half a tooth. But prior to that, I wasn't. And now I don't see it anymore. And I don't know if it's because I've trained myself out of doing that thing with my mouth that annoyed me so much, or if I've just made my peace with it. And I feel that way about lots of different things. Like, I actually feel like weirdly being on camera has made me so much more body confident in my appearance.
I love that. I'm not there yet, but I will be.
It was an unexpected like benefit of the job, I must say. I really didn't think that. I thought I'd be like, oh my God, like cut all that out. And there are definitely moments where I'm like, good Lord, no one needs to see that. But there are also times where I'm like, it's not that bad. Like, that's not as bad as I thought it would be. So yeah.
I feel like we should actually jump into the episode now. So welcome back. Welcome to episode 2 of The Real Edit. We're so happy you've joined us for a second episode. We would like to say thank you, first of all, for all the like really kind, supportive like comments, story shares, everything. Just, it's been, I'd say, a little bit overwhelming. Like just how positive the reaction has been. So thank you so much. And we're just so excited to be back in your ears again. It's
honestly, like some of the feedback we've got, the messages we've got. We've had listeners all over the world. We've gone global. We've like, it's just been so lovely. And the nicest thing I think that I've heard is people saying like, I just like you two together are really lovely, because that means that like it feels like genuine and warm, and that's what we want it to be. We just want it to be a really like positive space. So it's been quite an overwhelming week, but very positive. Yeah, definitely. And just to address this, because I realise we haven't done this yet, we're wearing the same t-shirt. Oh yeah. So we were actually quite planned. This is I'm going to out us and say that this is the second time recording this. You can tell them why as well. Because you can tell them. Okay, so we filmed the whole thing yesterday, and it went so well. Like it was perfect almost. It was perfect, until we realised when we'd finished that Aimee didn't have her headphone in, so you could hear everything. There was no we about it. Aimee goes, did you put your AirPod in? And I just went, and then there was just silence for a little while. Oh, I really thought that was going to be the end of our friendship. I nearly did hire a hitman, but we brought it back. So we've planned a checklist. We've got our headphones in, our microphones are clipped on, they're connected. The one thing we didn't plan was what we were going to wear. And we're wearing the same t-shirt. This is what we mean last week when we said there's just lots of little instances that add up where we are just the same person, and we literally opened FaceTime and Aimee just fell back on the bed laughing. It's just ridiculous. Like, I also feel like not everyone has it's a perfect shade of brown match. Like, it's ridiculous. Honestly. Yeah, and we did have like a couple of ideas for this week's podcast, but it kind of all went out of the window, I think, because we just keep talking about this one thing, and that is gifted collabs. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. 100%. Yeah, definitely. This is a big topic of conversation and probably quite a controversial one in some ways. But I really feel like we need to have this chat in this kind of forum because honestly, some of the questions that I get or conversations that I hear on this topic are actually like quite scary. And I really want to make sure that everyone in the space has the tools they need to thrive and also to do it correctly, like, you know, because if you get this wrong, there's some real repercussions to it. So we just feel like we need to talk about this huge complex topic of gifted collabs. And I also feel like it's going to be like part one because this is vast. But we just wanted to chat about some of the big bits today.
If you're a brand listening to this, we do want it to be just like a constructive conversation, and we hope that you can put yourselves in the shoes of the creator. We're business owners, and we'd really hope that you would advocate for us when topics like these do come up in like your teams and businesses. Yeah,
100%. And I think I'll just kick it off by saying I just find the concept of gifted collabs a little bit baffling. I just think if you wanted some building work done, and I've said this before, if you want some building work done, you'd call a builder. You'd say, can you come around, have a look at the job? Let me give you the brief. And they'd say, yep, cool, we can build that for you. We're going to charge you this amount of money. And you would never say, no, we're not going to pay you that. We only have this budget, so like meet us there. And I just find it very strange that I understand that we have to be flexible, and I am very flexible. I understand that there's an element of negotiation across multiple industries, including this one. I think for me, it's just the assumption by brands and businesses that you work with that you're open to conversation in the first place. You know, a lot of times, and I will say it's not all brands at all, but I do get messages from brands or individuals who are like, we can't pay you that, but we're willing to pay you this. And it's like, what do you mean willing? I'm the service provider. It really baffles me. It's a strange one.
Yeah, I feel like that does sum up like gifted collabs perfectly. Although like even like with the haggling the prices down, like that's slightly more acceptable. But I feel like gifted is like the brand literally being like, oh, we're not actually going to pay you. Like, but here, have our item, you know?
Yeah, in exchange for an incredibly valuable service that you're going to provide to us.
Yeah, and like I get like there is value like in experience and exposure, but also it is the reality that the brand is refusing to pay for a service that you're offering that does hold a lot of value to their business.
Yeah, 100%.
That makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I know that obviously there's this viewpoint that maybe you'll be accepting or you should be accepting gifted collaborations when you first start out in this space to build your portfolio, for example, and get some experience under your belt. But I actually, and again, this might be controversial, and it's just my humble opinion, I actually don't agree with that. I think it weakens the industry as a whole. And I think if you look at right now, for example, we are seeing an influx of new creators come into the space, probably because it's the new year and maybe lots of people promised themselves that in 2025 they were going to start, in which case, great, like good for them, 100%. Love that. But what that means is brands are now like, just have the pick of a number of creators who are willing to work for them for free. Why would they ever pay someone else to do it in that situation, you know? So it means that you've got experienced creators being undersold right now by people who are willing to work for free or very close to.
Yeah, I think as well, like with the influx of new creators, I've also been seeing like a huge amount of videos like promoting brands to reach out to get free products. When actually, if you do get to the point where you are registered as self-employed, like you do have to pay tax on those items.
I was going to say, a gifted item isn't a free item. Yeah. You're paying tax on it.
No, they're not actually free. And I know it can be like really confusing for like in terms of tax purposes. For like, I for one, like when I was, that's probably made a really loud noise on my microphone. Apologies for that. Like when I was looking into tax after registering myself, like I didn't realise that like the difference in tax on gifted items and PR. So like, yes, PR could be sent with no obligation to post, in which you wouldn't have to like pay tax on it. However, if you then choose to post about that on your social media and your job is to promote your service, that then becomes a business transaction. I think I've probably explained that really badly, but I don't think a lot of people realise that.
If something is sent to you for free and you use it in any way that can benefit your business, aka making a piece of content on your business account, even if it's just, I'm just getting ready, you have now made a piece of content with that item that then goes on your page, which boosts your visibility, which, exactly, it's very much then a business like transaction, business use. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's like you're absolutely free to use those products as and when you please. But it does the way you use the product does impact the tax repercussions for you. And I think that I've heard lots of creators talk about kind of all these free items getting all this PR, and it is really exciting. And I remember the first time a brand asked me if I wanted PR, I was like, send me that parcel. So exciting. But nowadays, now that I'm 2 years down the line, I am really, really mindful when a brand says to me, can we send you something, of what that means. And so a good one to shout out, I think, because definitely feels like a lot of people are accepting a lot of PR just because it's so exciting and maybe not understanding, or I know for a fact not understanding the tax implications of it. Yeah,
and I like, especially like with the PR hauls as well, I think it's amazing. Obviously, you're getting all these packages and like show it off, like not brag about it, but it's exciting.
Yeah, of course.
But then I also think now that you've done that, you've just highlighted yourself to the tax man. Which
is fine if you knew that was what you were doing and made that decision. But if you're doing it...
Luna feels strongly on this.
So strongly, she started humping my arm, I think, for a half a second there. What I was going to say was that is totally fine to do a PR haul and highlight yourself to the tax man. As long as you've done it knowing that's what you're doing. I would hate for a creator to put it all out there and be so excited and then think, oh God, like now I have, like, I didn't realise, like, so that I think that's the importance of the conversation. You do whatever you want to do and whatever makes you feel comfortable, but it's really important that you know the tax implications of your decisions.
Because it's like when I received that PR package and I showed it to you, didn't I? Like in a haul, I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Look at all like this stuff that came in the parcel. I wasn't expecting it. Maybe I'll do a video with it. And you were like, yeah, amazing. You might have to pay like tax on it though, because then you're going to benefit from it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Which again, is fine.
Like, because they're not, like, I have no obligation to post that. So it was purely a gift. But the minute I post that on social media, it then becomes taxable.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like if a brand reaches out now and says, can we give you this product to try? Like oftentimes when you look at either PR or gifted collaborations on products that you are going to use for business purposes, it's actually cheaper for you to go out and buy the product yourself than it is to get sent it, pay the tax on it, and have to spend your time, invest your time in making content for it, for example. Does that make sense? Like if I'm giving you a piece of content for free in exchange for something, I have to pay tax on that product, and I have to spend X many hours of my life. Like that's a different currency, but just really interesting. And I think brands do know it. I think they know that's what's happening, but I do also think that when we push back on brands, do we necessarily say to them, oh, I'm going to politely decline, because whilst I appreciate that it's gifted, the tax implications for this means that it's just not worth my while. Because I think that if we did start having those really polite and just very open conversations, maybe brands would start to understand that it's just a much more complex issue than maybe it appears on the surface.
Yeah. No, I do sometimes wonder if brands are aware, just like of the complexity of it. I mean, they probably do have like knowledge of it, but just in the sense of like, I guess because so many creators say yes, because maybe they're not self-employed yet, they don't have that tax implication.
Yeah. I think one of the really big challenges with an industry like UGC is that it's so new, and it's not standardized. There's so many grey areas. There's so much kind of room for, there's wiggle room, there's lenience, there's, as I say, grey areas. And I think what that means is creators and brands are simultaneously working it out as we go. And what that means is you see a lot of different approaches to projects. You see a lot of different approaches to things like budgets. There's just there's just no standardization, and that's no one's fault. It's just the reality of the industry that we're in.
Yeah, and I think as well, actually, like, because obviously UGC has been in the UK for like years now, but it is growing, whereas like other countries are like way ahead of us. And so like America might have like 10 times the budget we have, and like we could work with clients over there and think, wow, like that pay is amazing, and then you can get other ones where it's like the offer that you're receiving is like almost insulting, just because there like you say, there is no like set rules. Like everyone has different rates. It's just kind of going off for like what, I guess, experience.
I think as well, you say insulting, which is obviously like, I know you don't mean it that way, but it's a strong word, right? But the reality is, if a brand's saying to you, like, we'll pay you, I don't know, £75 for your video.
Yeah.
The brand does know the potential return on investment that a UGC asset can bring.
Yeah.
And so to suggest that it's worth £75 to me before tax, I think that's what we like when we say when we said earlier we would need brands to advocate for us in rooms that we're not in discussions that we're not a part of when it comes to budget. And I totally understand that brands have budgets. I get it. Like, I had my own budgets in my corporate job for 6 years. I really get it.
Yeah.
But it's almost like when it comes to such low offers, it's like I'd actually rather you offer me nothing than quantify me at that figure. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you know what I actually had the other day as well? So I think I told you, I've got a bit of fluff on my nose. I think that's been there the whole time. So the other day I received a message, like with quite a low price, and I kind of like went back and said like what my rate is, and it was fine, and the woman was completely understanding, and she was like, don't worry, I've also tried to do UGC myself, so I know like the planning, the editing, the filming, all the time that goes into it, so hopefully we can work together in the future. And you just kind of think, you know, and you still don't want to pay me.
And you still thought there was a chance. I mean, I guess you can't blame them for asking. And the problem is when you have people accepting those offers, then they're going to continue to be offered, you know?
Yeah.
And I always remember seeing a TikTok of an American creator saying the reason that our payments over here are so much higher is because we would just never entertain some of the offers that you are sent. And I know that as a kind of cliche and as a stereotype, Americans are much more open, much more emotive in their language, much more honest.
Like to the point.
And to the point, exactly, up front. And obviously that's not every American, but that's just, I think as a culture, that is just the way they are compared to us, certainly. And I can imagine that in instances where we're saying, oh, you know, if you wouldn't mind, you know, I can imagine them being like, absolutely not. Like, so she said that, you know, if you want to push the prices up and change the industry, like, you've got to stand together. And that's what I always talk about this, like, uniting as an industry, as a team of creators, and unanimously pushing back and saying, we understand you have limitations, we're willing to be flexible, because every good business understands that, but there's a limit to that. If you want what you provide. And I always remember a creator saying to me, brands can't expect a premium service without paying a premium price. And I quite like it. It's quite sassy, but I quite like it because it does capture kind of, I think, what we're all feeling.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, I think sometimes it does just lead down? That doesn't make sense. What am I trying to say? It does like come down to the fact that, I guess from a business perspective, like, they do have to be selfish. Say selfish, it's not selfish, it's just business plan. Yeah. They need to save money where they can. So they're going to try, you know, so I kind of feel like we need to just stand our ground, know our worth, and then we can come to like a mutual understanding. Yeah.
100%. Like, I'm so willing to be flexible. I'm so willing to move my rates around. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
But I also, if I also know the value of my time, and so for me, sometimes I get more value in having 3 hours free to relax than to make £75. Do you know what I mean? It's not worth I would rather go to the gym, get a coffee on the way home, FaceTime my friend, like, and I'd rather spend my 3 hours that way than you compensate me £75 for £75 is a very random number I've plucked out of the air, but I'm just saying, like, you know, whatever it might be. And I think also that brands also really vary in terms of their approaches around usage rights. But the reality is the value of an asset is heavily dependent on how and where you use it and for how long for. And it's not a one size fits all, but if you would like this great content and you'd like to use it for 1 day, it's going to cost you less than if you want to use it for 30, and so on and so forth. And so
I think that's actually from the creator side as well, though, because like I have seen like some people don't actually charge for usage rights, and like as from a creator don't understand like the benefit of them. Like for us, obviously, sometimes ads can be the money makers almost, because depending on how long it runs for, like from a business point of view, like why would you not charge the extra money? But yeah, I think there is like such a varied like look on it. Like us, for example, we wouldn't ever think of never charging for usage rights because we know their worth. Whereas like someone who maybe has only done organic content and it's their first time might not like realise just how beneficial that can be for the brand. And so why it should be like a chargeable service, if that makes sense.
I've also heard people say, I just feel that if I then add usage on top, the brand's just going to say no because my budget's higher. But that's just not my experience at all.
No.
A lot of brands, they do, and honestly, most people behind the emails, behind the brands, do understand. They're just working with a limited budget. Like they're not bad people. They're just, they've got a budget and they're hoping to get 3 videos out of that budget instead of 1. Yeah. Like, and I get it. I really do. But so I think that's, I actually, if you are a creator out there and you haven't charged for usage rights, and let me just really stress at this point, like neither of us are right. There's no right way of doing this. Yeah. Because as I said earlier, where this isn't a standardized industry, our rates aren't standardized either. And what that means is actually our definitions of fair pay and adequate pay vary as well. You know, what is knowing what is our worth? What is adequate compensation? Well, I think it's this plus usage rights. You think it's this. Well, then we're having this conversation at face value saying, oh, we've got to be paid fairly adequate. We're talking about totally different numbers, and so it's just the whole thing is really, really tricky. Yeah. Which is why I just think it's good to have these conversations and and I think like we've even had the conversation between the two of us, like when, like a while ago when I was looking at my rates, and because you told me what you'd charged for a video, and I was like, oh, but this is my rate, and then you were like, what? Like, why aren't you charging for your worth? Like, and then I like revalued, but it's kind of like the step up, like, because obviously there's a beginner fee, and then it's like, when do you take that step up to know your worth to be on that next? Do you know what I mean? Like, when do you know that you can up your price? Well, what I would say is, let's look at other industries. Let's put it this way: like when you book a hair appointment, there are different prices based on the different levels of stylists. And if you are looking to buy a house prices will vary depending on the house builder. You know, you might pay X amount for this house builder, but they use cheaper materials, have a lesser finish. Maybe they pay their labour less money. There is variance within industries, and that's in pricing, and that's absolutely fine. But there does need to be a base level, I think, established where we say you can't expect to buy a house for that amount of money. Like, it costs X amount to build it. Do you know what I mean? Or materials baseline cost this. I think that's the kind of headspace I kind of see it from. Brands maybe have been hesitant before to pay more than X amount for a video. Please just consider that actually there are people who have worked for longer in this space, or who are more skilled in this space, who are naturally going to charge more for their services because they know that what they provide is of a higher quality, is going to convert for you more, is more valuable to you. So, and that's okay. They're absolutely entitled to do that. You don't have to pay, but you cannot expect to pay X amount and receive that quality of work. You're going to have to measure your expectations and understand, if you're only willing to pay this, you're only going to get this. And if you would like this, you need to pay this.
Yeah, and I think that's the same as like within any job. If you apply to a job and you, for example, you're going against someone that has like 10 years of experience in that job, that role, and then versus someone who's fresh out of university, doesn't have the experience, like the pay always varies for that in like the corporate world. So why wouldn't it apply here as well?
Absolutely. But there's also a minimum wage, and we will never pay below that, you know? So let's establish the base level, I think is a fair point. And let's not let the base level be assumed to be gifted.
Yeah, and I think if you do want to be successful, you do have to like stand your ground, know your worth, because like at the end of the day, like we're both full time now. Like we have mortgages to pay. I can't pay my mortgage with a gifted item, you know. So
yeah. And again, I think that is a really challenging part of this industry. And this, I need to be really careful how I word this because I do not want this to come across wrong. There are a lot of really young creators in this space. And can I just preface what I'm about to say with, good for you, because when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, I wanted to do content creation and I did not have the guts until I was 27. So the fact that you're doing it, like genuinely, completely hats off. What it does mean, and also hats off, and also I wish I'd done it sooner too. But what it does mean is that sometimes creators, and actually maybe it's not entirely age dependent because this could apply to lots of different people, but not every creator is, I think it's like the classic, you know, the whole Molly May, you know, you have the same 24 hours in a day as Beyonce. Yes, there are 24 hours in everyone's day, but everyone's living a different life with different external factors. And so yes, there might be creators who can afford to accept that lower rate because maybe they don't live out, they still live with their parents, they don't have bills to pay, they don't have dependents, they don't have children, they don't have pets, they don't there's all sorts of things that that could feed into, even down to they don't have maybe medical bills to pay because they're completely healthy. Like this can look so different for different people. And so I appreciate that whilst yes, some people can afford to accept X very low amount for a video, that is not reflective of everyone's situation, and I will not drop below a certain level because number one, it's quite literally just not worth my time. I'd rather not get paid a penny and take the day off because that's more valuable to me right now in this season of my life, but also because I've got bills to pay and those low offers don't pay them. So I'm going to hold out for 1, 2, 3 deals for my month that do, as opposed to commit myself to 30 deals of very low value to hit a certain number. And again, there is no right or wrong way to do it. I am not trying to put anyone down for doing it how it feels best to them, but it's just a conversation. It's a very nuanced, very complex topic.
She's a passionate woman.
I'm a passionate woman.
Get this woman a Trip Mindful blend.
I literally got one. I love them. I literally love them. I tell everyone about them. And whenever I like work from a cafe with anyone, I'll be like, what flavour would you like? I'll bring you one. I always gift them a trip. I think I probably gifted you a trip at some point.
Yeah, for my journey home, you were like, what trip do you want?
Did I? I'm adorable. Oh, how cute. No, I'm joking. Not sponsored.
I think the bottom line here is that we do want to see like creators succeeding. We want to see people being paid their worth and also just knowing like their worth. But also like brands tapping into UGC as well, because it can be so transformative for their business. But I do think we need to find like a middle ground where it's mutually beneficial and everyone is appreciated. But that's just going to take time and a group effort. And also a group effort between both brands and creators. Like, I don't think we're for 1 second suggesting that all of this is on brands. We absolutely have a part to play in that. So yeah, massive group effort. I think also like you say I'm passionate, and I am 100%, but for me it's just such a big issue. It's a much bigger issue than maybe it first meets the eye, because like social media is one of the only industries where women dominate. And so for me it just goes so much deeper. We have so much like value and power in this space. And so especially when I'm working with female business owners, female agency owners, female marketing managers, and they're refusing to pay adequately, I just think, it just really frustrates me and upsets me, because like we should be lifting each other up. Like we should really be leaning into the opportunity that this space provides us. And so, yeah, I am really passionate because it's a much bigger issue, I think, than some people maybe think it is. But I am really optimistic. I am really optimistic for the future. I will say that much. No, I think we definitely feel a little bit lighter after that conversation. But we have only just scratched the surface on the topic. There's definitely a bigger conversation to be had. But we'd love to hear your thoughts too. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. We're off to do some deep breathing exercises.
Absolutely. And I really hope that you took something positive from the episode. I hope it wasn't too ranty. Even if it's just to maybe go away and do some more research on what you need to pay tax on. You know, even if it's just something like that, because I would hate for people to be stung for the wrong reasons. Yeah. So anyway, we'll be back at the same time next week, and we hope you will be too. Love you. Bye.